Norton?
It would go off to one side, sir. I don't know just where it would hit.
Neither do I know just where it would hit. But I can tell you this. It would miss the center of the bullseye by about 35 feet. Get that. 35 feet. The point is, when you jerk the trigger, you twist the rifle off the line of aim. When your sights are on the target, you can move your whole rifle from side to side, the width of the bullseye, and still hit it, if the rifle always stays parallel to the line of aim. But if the butt of the rifle remains stationary and you jerk the muzzle off to one side as much as an inch, your bullet will miss the target by about 15 feet at 200 yards, by 21 feet at 300 yards, or by 35 feet at 500 yards. A half-inch movement of the muzzle means a miss by 17 or 18 feet at 500 yards. A quarter-inch movement will cause a miss by 8 or 9 feet. And even a movement as small as a 16th of an inch may make you miss the bullseye. That's why it's so important to take the correct position, so that your rifle and your whole body aim directly at the bullseye. Then, when you squeeze the trigger so smoothly that you don't know when the rifle's going off, the strike of your bullets will be changed only by the natural parallel movements of your body, and your shots will be good. The unsteadiness caused by the natural movements of your body does not seriously affect the aim if you squeeze the trigger correctly. Okay, let's see if you got the point so far. What happens if you jerk the trigger? Harris?
It'd throw your rifle muzzle off the target. If you were shooting at a guy, you wouldn't hit him.
Right. Remember it, and you'll get plenty of bullseyes. And guys, too. What should you do? Kerensky?
Sir, you should squeeze the trigger so that you won't know when the rifle will go off.
Good. Tell me when to squeeze it. O'Neill.
You take your position, you hold your breath, you aim, you take up your slack, and then you pull the trigger.
Do you pause after you've taken up your trigger slack before you begin to squeeze it? Austin?
No, sir. Taking up on the slack starts you on the squeeze.
Right. And you go on steadily applying pressure until the hammer falls. Do you flinch and spoil your aim if you squeeze the trigger properly? Marshall?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because you don't know when the rifle's going off.
Check. Here's all there is to it. Every time you squeeze the trigger, be sure to do these things. Apply a steadily increasing pressure and continue smoothly until the rifle is fired. I know this seems easy. It is, but it must be practiced over and over. You must develop the habit of thinking only of the sight picture. You must practice until the trigger finger works independently, as if it had a mind of its own. Are there any questions?
Sir, how much time should you take to squeeze the trigger?
The expert takes about 2 seconds to fire a well-aimed shot. He can do this because he knows his job so well that the whole procedure is almost automatic. Speed comes with practice, and he follows through. Here's what we mean by follow through. After the hammer falls, go right on for an instant doing what you were doing. Hold your breath and aim and apply your steadily increasing pressure on the trigger. This helps overcome the natural tendency to let go, which disturbs the sight alignment. All right. We've shown you how to squeeze the trigger and follow through. And we have a neat little way of checking up on you. With each shot, we have you call out where you think the bullet is going to hit. This is calling the shot. And you do it the instant after the shot is fired. It's a cinch to call your shots if you're squeezing the trigger properly. For then your eye is open, and you can see where your sights are aligned when the rifle fires. Of course, if you jerk the trigger, or close your eyes and flinch, you won't be able to call your shot, because you won't know where your sights are aligned when the rifle went off. The point is that only the man who squeezes the trigger properly can tell where his shot should hit. Here's the system we use to call our shots. Most of you know by now that a hit here is a 5. And in this circle, a 4. And in this one, a 3. Anywhere else on the target is a 2. A miss is a 0. Now, every time you fire a shot, imagine a large vertical clock face on your target with a bullseye in the center. This gives you a simple system of calling your shots. For example, suppose at the instant your rifle goes off, you see your sights aligned so that the bullet will hit here. Then you will call your shot a 4 at 12 o'clock, because it's in the 4 circle and in the direction of 12 o'clock. A hit here would be a 3 at 7 o'clock. Here, a 2 at 2 o'clock. And here, a 4 at 11. And here, a pinwheel 5. On the range, you call your shots at slow fire. You and the coach compare the called shot with the actual shot to see if you know where you are aiming when the piece is fired. In dry shooting, there's no way to check whether or not you call your shots correctly, but it's to your advantage to do so. It helps you to develop the habit of concentrating on the sight picture and forgetting the trigger finger. It helps you to develop the habit to call the shot, as you'll do on the range. Now, in the trigger squeeze exercise, as in all the others, the coach must check every step. He sees that the sights are properly blackened and the sling correctly adjusted. He checks the pupil's position. If it's wrong, he tells him why and corrects it. He keeps an eye on the pupil's back during aiming to make sure he holds his breath properly. He sees the pupil takes up the slack and squeezes the trigger properly. He watches his eye to make sure he does not blink. When the pupil is actually firing the rifle, you can chalk up a flinch for him any time you see his eye close. The flincher closes his eye just before the explosion. Therefore, you can see it. If he doesn't flinch, you won't see his eye close, because your eyes and his will close involuntarily at the sound of the explosion. Are there any questions about anything we've covered today? Okay. You're going to hear these things over and over again from your coaches, your squad leaders, your platoon leaders, and me. You're going to hear them and practice them until they become so much a part of you that you couldn't forget them if you wanted to. If you acquire these correct habits in your preparatory work, you'll find that the actual firing on the range is as simple as shooting fish in the kitchen sink. To be a good shot, you must dry shoot or squeeze off 100 or more shots for every round fired, and with as much care. Remember, skill in squeezing the trigger correctly is the best life insurance you can get.